Hi, and welcome back to the ADHD Friendly podcast. I'm Patty Blinderman. I am an ADHD coach, and my passion is finding things that create more ease in my life. And that's always using ADHD friendly tips, tools, and strategies. And I bring them here on this podcast to share with you in the hopes that they create more ease and ADHD friendly in your life. Today, I am talking about something I just discovered, Happiness Month. It's a thing. And apparently it's the month of August. I learned about this in my Costco Connections magazine. Costco publishes their own magazine, which I just love. It's filled. I always get at least one thing out of it each month. I find that's what brings me back to things. If I don't get something from it, I tend to lose interest. And there's always at least one thing in Costco Connection magazine that I take away and am able to put into my life to create more happiness for myself. And this month, in the August edition, it was just a tiny little article. Literally, I'm holding it up. If you're listening to the podcast, you can check me out on ADHD Friendly Podcast on YouTube if you want to see it. But there was just a tiny little like quarter page little blurb in here about Happiness Month. And so it's actually called Happiness Happens Month. And it was founded in 1998 by a group called the Secret Society of Happy People. And it's a month dedicated to celebrating things that make you happy. It's genius. I'm kind of like, why didn't I think of this? I just love it. But I'm really happy that it already exists. And their website, if you want to check out some of the information on there, is SOPH, Society of Happy Happy People. I said that backwards. SOHP, Society of Happy People. I even wrote it backwards. .com. And they have a little tool in there that you can download where they identify 31 different descriptive words of different types of happiness. And you can go through and check things off and see how many you have. What I love about it is it puts a little structure to it. So I can kind of look like, oh yeah, I'm grateful. And oh, I do, I'm creative, or I, feel inspired or joyful or laugh today, humor. So it's just a little checklist to see how many types of happiness you experience. And I love anything that throws a little bit of structure around something that makes it easier for me to hold on to, because happy is kind of that, you know it when you're feeling it, but it can be a little elusive. So I like the idea of all of these words that are connected to being that, feeling happiness, and maybe like, noticing how you're experiencing happiness and what it looks and feels like for you. The other thing that I wanted to share was just what brought it about. Apparently, I went to the About page on their website and read that apparently they wrote into Ann Landers, a advice columnist, back, 1998, and wanted to really like celebrate writing an annual newsletter, sharing, families' fates and fortunes for the year and celebrating those happy things. And Anne kind of said that she recommended that her readers ditch writing them and sending them. And there was apparently such an outpouring of writers that wrote in and said, no, like we need to like celebrate happiness and write newsletters, that for the next year, she reversed course and actually recommended them. So I'm a newsletter writer every year. It's one of the things that I've put structure around, and more I've noticed to support my own brain to remember what we do throughout the year. But I understand, the newsletters that we get sometimes that are just a little over the top, like, oh, we won the lottery and we, went on a month-long trip to Europe or whatever. It's a little bit like, okay, all right. But there's also just celebrating and acknowledging, what happened in our lives and sharing it with people that maybe we aren't seeing all the time that wouldn't know otherwise. And so I love that it's kind of acknowledging like, it's okay to share it. And it ties to this organization used to be called the Secret Society of Happy People. And it was more like that, like, oh, keep your happiness to yourself, like be happy, but you don't need to like broadcast it. And now it's called the Society of Happy People, because it's acknowledging like we don't need to keep our happiness a secret. We really want to celebrate it. And what I love about that is happiness builds happiness. So we need all the happiness we can get. We need to put it out into the world and support people who maybe need a little bit more of that positive energy in their lives. So I just love the idea of them not being secret anymore and not feeling like they have to hide and kind of keep it a secret. And the other thing I wanted to share that this brought up for me, I mentioned it before, but again, it's a whole podcast dedicated to happiness. And that's the Happier with Gretchen Rubin podcast. She does it with the podcast with her sister. They come out with a new episode every Wednesday. I love Wednesdays because I love listening to it. It always has something in there that I can take and use. Or that just makes me happy listening to it. So I highly recommend that podcast. Just lots of great tips and strategies and tools, and they're fun to listen to. So again, just another way to, if you're building like I call them a happy menu, things that make you happy. How do you remember them and how do you tap into them so that you can create that happy energy connection for yourself when you need it? And remember, those things that do build that connection to happiness with more ease for you. I have a file I've kept for years called my Happy, Happy, Joy, Joy file, which one of my clients in my personal owner's manual group shared a few years ago, that apparently that was from, I don't remember if it was Ren and Stimpy or some show I never watched, but I remember, like the song, the little like theme song always stuck in my head. And it was like this really happy, like happy, happy, joy, joy. And I can't even tell you why I would know it since I never watched whatever show it was from. But I labeled my my file, like literally a file folder, where I would get cards and little notes. And when I taught, I got notes from students or their parents. And when I started my coaching business, I get notes again from clients and parents of clients when I coach with students or the students themselves, but all different, walks of life. I get notes, family members, my kids will write me something, and I just tuck it in this file or little pictures that make me happy. And I can literally go into the file and pull anything in there out, and it will make me happy, because the only reason it went in there is because I felt happiness from reading it or looking at the picture of it. And I added it to that happy, happy, joy, joy file. So that's, a strategy I use to be able to reconnect to things that do make me happy. And I love that August is happiness month. And I just had to share it, even though I know this will come out later in the month of August, it will still be August when this is, available for you to view. So I really encourage you to explore. Would it be interesting for you to run an ADHD friendly experiment, capturing a list or a way to note the things that create more happiness in your life so you can tap into them when you need more of that positive happiness energy? And, here's to happiness month. Happiness happens. And we do have the power to make it happen if we can connect to and remember the things that make it more easy for us to find happiness. So that's all for this week's ADHD Friendly podcast. As always, if there was something in here that resonated with you, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my my podcast and share it with someone else if you think someone else would enjoy hearing ways to make life a little bit more ADHD friendly. And if you haven't started your personal owner's manual yet, your POM, I invite you to check out my website, ADHDfriendly.com. I have lots of tips and strategies and tools on there, including a mini POM you can download for free if you would like to have a little bit of structure to support you to start yours. Here's to happiness month. Until next time, tally ho.